You're listening to The Manning Report with your host, James David Manning. The news behind the headlines.
You know, Trump tells a lot of lies, and New York Times, and everybody, you know, every time I hear people talk about Trump and they excoriate him, they call him all kinds of names. This is the President of the United States of America. But it's just becoming commonplace now to refer to him as a degenerate, as a pathological, as a narcissist, as a freak, as a person of low vocabulary, a person who doesn't have any compassion or empathy or sympathy. There was a segment last night I was telling Elizabeth about that we needed to get where Mike Pence just stares at Tribulation Trump like he wants to have sex with him. I don't know if we ever got that segment. We don't have it today. We'll bring it up tomorrow. Mike Pence, he gloats over Trump. He stares at him. You know, he praises him. And, you know, somebody said, I wish for just one moment my wife would look at me as lovingly as Mike Pence every day looks at Tribulation Trump. It's sickening. Mike Pence. Anyway, but Lawrence O'Donnell has caught Trump in a lie that seems that nobody else is caught in. And Lawrence O'Donnell said this is Trump's biggest lie. Roll that clip, Mr. Engineer.
As usual today, the New York Times left out the big one from its exhaustive multi-year survey of Trump's history of using 9/11 for political attacks. And I say as usual because the New York Times has never mentioned the big lie Donald Trump told about 9/11 in the South Carolina Republican presidential primary debate while attacking Jeb Bush and the Bush family and every other Republican on that stage with him that night. The big lie that the New York Times left out of its story today is one that I have shown you and talked about on this program 4 times in the last 3 years since the day Donald Trump said it in February of 2016 in South Carolina. That means that millions and millions of people have heard me talk about it. They've seen it on this program, but it still hasn't found its way into the New York Times official record of Trump's worst lies about 9/11. And that means that the lost Trump lie is not just lost to the New York Times. It might end up being lost to history because historians rely on the New York Times so much. The fact that almost the entire American news media never noticed this lie during the presidential campaign is one of the proofs of the American news media's failure in the coverage of the last presidential campaign. Prior to Donald Trump, it is inconceivable that a politician could tell a lie like this and not have it end the candidate's campaign. It is as vile a lie as Donald Trump has ever told, and even Donald Trump knows how bad a lie this is because he stopped telling it. He told it twice. Once at the debate and the next morning on TV, and I called him on it both times as soon as he said it, and he never said it again, because even Donald Trump knows just how sacrilegious this lie is. Here's the way he said it the first time.
How did he keep us safe when the World Trade Center came down? The World, I lost hundreds of friends. The World Trade Center came down during the rain. He kept us safe. That's not safe.
I lost hundreds of friends. The next morning, he didn't lose hundreds of friends on 9/11. He had time to read my tweet overnight saying, of course, Donald Trump lies about how many friends he lost on 9/11, hundreds of friends, proving there's nothing he won't lie about. Donald Trump was actively responding to my tweets in those days and attacking me and threatening me on Twitter and threatening to sue me on Twitter. And so it's very likely that he saw that tweet. And so the next morning, hundreds of friends became many friends.
How did he keep us safe when the World Trade Center, during his time in office, came down? I was there. I lost many, many friends in that tragedy.
Many, many friends. I immediately tweeted that Donald Trump was lying again, and Donald Trump never said that again. He never said he lost a friend on 9/11 again, not one. Now, full disclosure, I did not fact check how many friends Donald Trump lost on 9/11 before tweeting that he was lying about that. I just knew he was lying because I'd been watching Donald Trump long enough to know how he operates. The guy who tells you everything about his uncle, who is a professor at MIT, is not going to leave anything out about a friend of his who he can name who died on 9/11. And I knew that Donald Trump had never mentioned losing friends on 9/11 before. You just had to be able to think about Donald Trump to know that he was lying about that. Michael Daly did the homework and the fact-checking for an article in the Daily Beast. Michael Daly did not find any proof that Donald Trump attended a single 9/11 funeral, not one. Donald Trump didn't lose a single friend on 9/11. Donald Trump didn't go to a single 9/11 funeral, and he told that lie to gain political advantage on a debate stage in South Carolina, where he was the only one from New York City, and no one there was smart enough to know he was lying. And because this instantly became Trump's lost lie, he got away with it. And what he got away with was stealing the grief of the 9/11 families, stealing the grief of the thousands of people who lost fathers and brothers and sisters and grandmothers and dear friends on 9/11. Donald Trump stole their grief and wrapped himself in it on a debate stage. He used it as a weapon on a debate stage to score points against ignorant Republican presidential candidates who didn't know he was lying. He stole other people's grief, 9/11 grief. And the campaign news media let him get away with it, as they let him get away with so much. And he got away with it again today when the New York Times once again failed in its coverage of Donald Trump by leaving out the sickest, most perverse lie that Donald Trump has ever told. The man who doesn't have hundreds of friends, who might not even have any real friends at all, lied about losing hundreds of friends on 9/11 and got away with it. The news media isn't up to this job, keeping up with the lies of Donald Trump, so you're going to have to hold on to this one yourself if you don't want it to be Trump's lost lie. When your children and grandchildren ask you what is the worst lie that Donald Trump told, you can send them to the New York Times archives, but you might also want to have your personal list, a list that includes the time the man who apparently has no idea what human suffering is stole all of the suffering of 9/11 for himself. He became a thief of grief. We owe it to history to not let that remain.
So Trump said in the debate, on the debate stage there in this is a summary, on the debate stage there in South Carolina, he lost hundreds of friends in 9/11, all right? Next morning on a broadcast, he said he changed from hundreds to many friends. It's been fact-checked that Trump did not attend one funeral of the 3,000 people that lost their lives in 9/11. The World Trade Center, he did not go to one funeral. So, I mean, if he had friends, and many of them, he would have been at the funerals, you would think. He didn't attend one. I mean, he lied. He lied about, and according to Lawrence O'Donnell, the most horrific event that has ever taken place in New York. And now he's exploiting with Ilhan Omar, who said somebody on that day did something. And now he's exploiting that, which a lot of people find extremely repulsive, that he's showing those planes flying into those towers again. You know, Trump is a degenerate. He is, my mom used to tell me birds of a feather flock together, and I think that it is basically saying that Japheth people, or at least a segment of them, are degenerates as well. My engineer found a segment where Mike Pence is staring at Trump like he wants to have sex with him, a sexual intercourse. Mike Pence does, like he's gloating and glorifying Trump. The way he looks at him, gazing at him, it's just absolutely incredible. Look, Pence is not looking at the audience. Look at the little joy in his lips, his eyes. He's watching his lover. Look at him. Look at how placid his face looks. It's like he's in puppy love. You know, it's not Pence, it's puppy. Look how he's looking at him. Who would look at him. So when Trump doesn't turn around and slap him because he makes you feel uncomfortable, look at him. He's over his shoulder. Look at Pence. I mean, this is absolutely Incredible. Look look at that little smirk on his face, like, oh, I just love you so much. Look at this. This is Japheth degeneracy. And look at this. Look at how he applauds him. Not even looking at the audience. If his wife or his children, he wouldn't say. He just checking out Trump. This is absolutely incredible. I call it Japheth degeneracy on steroids. Both the president and the vice president, two sickos. This is a bit of a news blog we do, looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting, rather than have Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Janine Pirro or Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon, Rush Limbaugh interpret what's going on in the world. You come to me and I'll tell you based on what the Word of God says. They'll just give you their worldly, sinful view. But the Manning Report will tell you what God has said, whether to say yea or nay, whether to go or to stay. You'll be led by the word of Almighty God. Come to the Manning Report on a daily basis to interpret the spiritual wickedness in high places, because there's plenty of it that's going on. And so I'm the Lord's servant, James David Righteous Rebel Manning, and I'm here to serve you with news and information.